You may have seen this video of mine going over Disney's announcement that dts-x is finally coming to their streaming platform to go along with the IMAX Enhanced experience. dts-x has become a familiar household acronym since every AVR that supports Dolby Atmos also supports dts-x. But some of you may have noticed on your very own AVR or came across something online that mentioned dts-x Pro. So what's the difference? Well, let's get into it, shall we? When immersive height channels became available in home theaters and not just at your local movie theater or cinema, there were always two codecs that were guaranteed to be supported by your AVR: Dolby Atmos and dts-x. Dolby Atmos was of course developed by Dolby Labs, and dts-x was developed by, you guessed it, DTS. But these object-based surround sound formats aren't actually based on sound. They are based on metadata, numbers, calculations, not audio waveforms or channel-based like your typical 5.1 or 7.1 surround sound. On a 4K Blu-ray disc, the metadata for Atmos travels alongside a 7.1 bed layer of a Dolby True HD audio signal. The same is true for dts-x, where its metadata travels alongside a 7.1 bed layer of a DTS HD master audio signal. But here's where they differentiate. dts-x only officially supports processing of up to 12 simultaneous discrete channels of audio. In other words, it caps out at 7.1.4. Wait, but didn't you just say that dts-x is object-based and not channel-based? Yes, but even though theoretically there was no limit to the number of channels or objects in any given mix, they kept running into physical limits like processing power, memory, the complexity of testing a myriad of different speaker configurations, etc. So they came to the conclusion that 7.1.4 was a good number to stick to for home theater applications. Mind you, this was back in 2012, so things have changed since then concerning home theater. Now you could still play a dts-x soundtrack through, let's say, a 9.2.6 system. Sound would still come out of each speaker, however, you wouldn't be getting unique content coming from all the speakers. More like copies of sounds through certain speakers. That's where dts-x Pro comes in. dts-x Pro goes far beyond 7.1.4, bringing commercial-style movie theater processing power into the privacy of your own home. Now you can have discrete audio coming out of your front wides, for example, or more than 4 height channels, etc. Although typically if you have one row of seats, a 7.1.4 configuration should suffice. But once you add additional rows of seating into the equation, that's where dts-x Pro is most advantageous, since its renderer can support up to 32 speakers, which is just a little more than 12. Before I conclude this topic, I just want you to be aware that even though both Dolby Atmos and dts-x are object-based codecs, that doesn't mean the mixing engineers are exclusively using audio objects. That would take a tremendous amount of time to assign every sound to an object with precise placement within 3D space. Channel-based audio still exists even with Atmos and dts-x. That's called a static mix. Unmoving, just assigned to a specific speaker in the system. A dynamic mix, on the other hand, that's when objects are actively moving around, like when a plane flies overhead. It was assigned as an object because it moves from one side of the room to the other. But if you take a look at several 4K Blu-ray reviews from your boy Shane Lee, for example, who has a Trinoff processor that shows him a live view of audio objects, you'll see that the majority of the audio is static, with the occasional object that flies around when necessary to add the immersive effect. Like Top Gun Maverick, for example. Almost the entire movie is a static Atmos mix. Oh well, send any complaints you have to Paramount Pictures, I guess. So, dts-x was a revolutionary immersive audio format back in the day and continues to be today. But when it first made its way into home theaters, they figured 7.1.4 would be plenty. And such was the case for quite some time. But now, a decade later, home theater enthusiasts with lots of time and money are investing in larger and larger theaters, needing to go beyond 7.1.4. So dts-x Pro supports that, able to render up to 32 channels of discrete audio, without just copying audio into more channels. So it's not that dts-x and dts-x Pro sound any different, since they are both built from the same foundation. It's just that you can expect that the more speakers you have, more gaps are filled, and the sense of true immersion is intensified, especially when dealing with more than one row of seats. I mean, What would even be a configuration consisting of 32 speakers? Well, if it's a large theater, let's say you have 4 subwoofers in each corner. So that means you got 28 left. So let's go hog wild and say you have 17 ear level speakers, right? So that leaves you with 11 height channels. I mean, if you think about it, that could very well be what your local movie theater has. So yeah, you can truly bring the cinema into your own home. It's wild to think about. Oh hey, Elon Osborne here from the slightly nearer future. I just wanted to make something else clear that came up in a comment as I was editing this. There is no such thing as a dts-x Pro mix. So if you're looking on the back of a 4K Blu-ray disc, like say any of the Jurassic Park or Jurassic World movies, those are all mixed in dts-x because dts-x is the base. dts-x Pro allows you to have an incredibly huge speaker configuration, and it will then render the dts-x mix accordingly. Because I just wanted to slip that little tidbit into this video because some of you may have been concerned, like, well, are there dts-x Pro mixes like on new movies that are coming out? No, it is still dts-x, that is the base. dts-x Pro just allows for more speakers and better rendering of discrete audio to all those speakers if you have more than a 7.1.4 configuration. Make sense? Great. Well, I hope that clears the air with dts-x Pro and what it's all about. Clearly it's aimed to those who have dedicated theaters with multiple rows of seats, so it's not exactly necessary for most of us out there. Can we agree on that? And it doesn't sound any better than dts-x, it's just support for more speakers and a more immersive experience when you have more speakers. When researching this topic though, it occurred to me that I've never seen a Dolby Atmos Pro or something similar. So I wonder how Atmos matrixes into configurations beyond 7.1.4. Has Dolby already accounted for that in how Atmos is rendered? Or do I need to switch to dts-x Pro if I have a 9.1.6 setup? So what are your thoughts on dts-x Pro? Are you in that small niche that has a theater with multiple rows of seats? Do you own an AVR or preamp that supports dts-x Pro? Let's start a conversation, people. As always, please be kind to each other out there. Don't just watch TV and movies, experience them. Possibly with dts-x Pro, am I right? And of course, always be listening.